Okay.
Hi.
I think I'll get rid of this. Okay, so this is my dear friend Roxanne, and we're kind of attached at the hip on this. She wants to or not, she's been
I'm on for the ride.
baptism by fire through all this, but it's been a fun experience. Some time ago, we discovered that we are from the same soul group, so it made sense as we determined that there is definitely a connection. But I think one of the topics that I've asked her to join me in today is talking about, from a third party's view on this whole Maitreya. We'll talk more about kind of the path I've taken and her role in it. But through this video, we'll just talk about, since I started on the ascension path, which she knew me much before Maitreya joined us, to kind of this almost on steroids path with Maitreya. So anyways, Roxanne, some craziness happens when we're together.
Definitely. Definitely.
So what's your perception on what's going on, or sort of this path?
Well, the first thing that happened with Maitreya is my introduction of him to you.
That is true. That is true. Because I didn't even know Maitreya.
No, and I had an imprint of his hand that showed up on a woman's mirror like years ago. I've probably had this for 10 years or more, and so I had a copy of this imprint of his hand, and I had it in my office. And it was, the copy was sort of a purple color.
Yes, and yeah, go ahead.
And when, on this one particular day, Melissa was saying she kept seeing this purple color that she thought was the violet flame, but she thought it might be a new guide coming in. What came to me was that it may be Maitreya, and I don't even know why I said that. It just popped out, but I knew where to find the handprint. So I went upstairs and I got it and I brought it back down and showed it to her, and then she...
Yeah, instantly. I mean, that was, at that point in time, I would feel energy signatures and lots of colors. And so how I knew I had a new guide with me, or whoever I was with, a new collective was joining us. And it's kind of on the right side, left side, so I kind of knew who it was mine or somebody else's. But I was seeing colors, and I knew from an energy signature that had changed, but I was still seeing, this violet, which I thought was, like I said, the violet flame. And then when she brought forward that picture, the emotions started to run wild. And that's how they were communicating with me at that point, is they would give me very strong emotions, almost to the point where I would fall to my knees, where I just felt like it was just, and that was just kind of that validation to say to me, you're on the right path. What you've just acknowledged is true. And so that was quite interesting.
It was.
And then
it progressed quite quickly. Every time, sometimes almost every day, I would speak with Melissa, and she would have some kind of message from Maitreya. It wasn't always coming so easily, and we would try to decipher what he was saying, but rather quickly it just started to flow, and she opened herself up, and the words just come out in a natural conversation. And it's fascinating to me because I don't hear my guides. I can do automatic writing, but to watch her in action as he speaks to her and she relays the messages to me, or just says what he's talking about, it's fascinating to me. And now he even excuse me, he purposefully gives me feedback when I need feedback, which I'm very thankful for.
Yeah, and that's it. It started out where, as Roxanne mentioned, where we was kind of pulling I would get energy signatures and try to figure out those words. And I'm not good at labels. I'm not good with putting things in context. You know, I know that I'm not from this plane, and so those things are kind of relevant. That's why it's always grand to work with Roxanne, because she can kind of put the context of some words. But it went from that to very strong meditations, and then I decided to start recording myself through an audio just so that I could replay and hear what he's saying, because I when I'm in that stance with Maitreya, I don't remember everything. And
yeah, it's more of a trance.
Yeah, you're right. And it was not a stance. See, here we go. She's got the words, me not so much. And so, you know, recording that just kind of allowed things to really start flowing. And then we went to Bimini together. And I think that for both of us was on steroids, a lot of ahas and magnification of our divineness. And then I noticed soon after Bimini, actually we're still returning from our Bimini trip, is the integration between Maitreya and I was there was no boundaries. It was as if one. And I know that I wonder that through Roxanne, what that's like to speak with me, because as we're talking now, Maitreya will just start adding his thoughts into this, because him and I have agreed to be integrated as one with some boundaries, especially when I'm in my work environment. But I think it's a tone change, and I know originally in Bimini it was really obvious.
It was.
So do you want to kind of explain to the collective what that means, or what that was like?
When it was really obvious, it was fascinating. Like,
she's being nice.
Here's Melissa. Here's Maitreya. Here's Melissa. Here's Maitreya. And sometimes it was hard to distinguish who was talking, but he does use different words, and so I've become more accustomed to him, and I can recognize now. Because Melissa never called me my dear.
That's
and
true.
And when he talks, he always says my dear.
That is true.
So I always know it's him.
Yes.
But the part that, and I really mean no disrespect in this, but when she started speaking the language of the collective of 33,
yeah,
I had to laugh.
We all did.
It was such a foreign language that just sounded like gibberish, but it was joyful, and it was entertaining.
Yeah, the chants, that's what she's speaking about, is the chanting that I still do. But yeah, how can you not laugh? Because it is not of this world, for one, and it's a little odd.
It is.
And she's being so polite now.
And sometimes she sings.
Oh, I do. I sing, and I cannot carry a note, so that's not good. But, you know, I think that's the key thing is, you know, I had some time with Maitreya before, let's say, the onset of most of this, and agreed to be, you know, fully invested regardless, and meant, you know, no barriers, and allowed him at any point that he desires to use me as a portal. Now, we do have boundaries, and we have negotiated what that looks like, and you can fully do that with your guides, is establish those boundaries. But, you know, Roxanne, I mean, it is just wide open when we're talking. And I know even this morning we were speaking, and, you know, I try to interpret what he's saying, and finally I just let him come through, because he just wants to join the conversation. Mm-hmm. And I think she can kind of tell now when he yes. joins. I try to give her some insight, because I know when he joins. But it's such a small transition. There's not much of a transition at all.
It's a very easy transition.
Yeah. And, you know, like right now, he's desiring to join us. And I've asked him to hold off on that. You know, I may let him come in. He goes, let him. That's not how we work. But anyways.
Something I would like to add, though, is just a reminder that when Melissa did start channeling and receiving these energies, it affected her physically. Very strongly, put her down, and
yes.
she would have pain, and it took a few days to get over that, and mm-hmm. I'm actually experiencing that now. So now I know what she was going through, and it's yeah, you don't really know, you don't really understand it in one respect of why are you hurting like this, but then
Good point.
consciously you know that someone is trying to communicate with you of a different vibration, and your body's trying to adjust. So that's a new learning for me.
You know, I didn't even think about that. You know, I've taken a lot of things for granted, and I think, well, I know, I don't think. Maitreya has asked that I share openly, raw and in the moment, multiple levels of my ascension path. And this is one of them, is some of these things that, you know, I've gone through now, you know, Roxanne's gone through, or either or. We want to make sure we're sharing this openly so that you can either relate or it may resonate with you. But there's some things I have almost not, I don't recall because I've moved on. But you're right. When I would experience new energies, and even now, you know, Maitreya acts like a buffer for me. He is my protector in a sense. So he is that moderator between new energies and myself, which is grand. And Maitreya has made it very clear that each of us have a divine guide that is a predominant one that will kind of be that moderator for us. But like with Roxanne, she has experienced some additional energies in her collective, and she's not used to that vibration. And I know for me, when I, as they say, jump from lily pad to lily pad, which means universe to universe, and experience these energies, it took my body some time to adjust to those energies that I just encountered. So do you want to talk more about any of that, or another time?
Only to say that body work really helps when you're experiencing this. It helps in many ways, and we will talk about body work.
Yes.
And the part it plays in the ascension process in another video.
Yeah, because that one needs some dedicated time. But, you know, that's what's beneficial about us, you know, being, you know, at the hip through these processes is we can rely on each other. So the more that you have somebody in your collective, in your family, or in network to kind of not feel so hindered. You know, if you was to talk to somebody that was not on their ascended path and let them know what I do and all that, they would not want to probably engage in too much of a conversation with me. They probably would go the other way. So it's beneficial to have somebody, one, that knows body work, because she does, and can help me through the ups and downs, through all that. And then for her, in retrospect, is use Maitreya in my experience working with guides to help her understand what she might be encountering. So it's been a win-win for both of us in that. And you know, we know this is divine timing, and so we laugh about that. But it's just, you know, reach out to your network, because you never know where you can help balance this knowledge between, you know, another person.
And it really makes you feel not so crazy.
Yes.
To have someone who can understand what you're talking about and possibly what you're going through, because it could be quite frightening.
Yeah, and you know, I'll be honest, you know, this is full transparency. My children are not aware of, my adult children are not aware of the full capacity. I've, you know, enlightened them a little bit, pieces and pieces, because you do have to kind of respect where everybody's at in their ascension path. Obviously now, you know, if they was to do any type of Google search, they might discover just, you know, all more about their mom or Nana, which time will come. I will, you know, enlighten them personally when I do have that opportunity in the right divine timing. But it can be very, especially if you don't have a network, it can be challenging, it can be scary. But what I have discovered is just allow this. You know, you're working with your higher self, who's not here to hurt you. You know, these guides are in place for a reason. This is your divine being. This is where you're supposed to be. It doesn't feel like it is, because in this 3D, 5D, depending on where you're at, this earth plane as it stands now, this is an unnatural state. Just know that this is not a natural state. It's just hard for us to digest it and to understand it through our analytical brains in the human capacity. And it's okay not to fully understand. That's your trust in divine knowing. And guess who's going to decide he wants to join us? And you know he's coming in. And yes, I am here now.
Hi, Maitreya.
Ah, so glorious be, so glorious be. This is, I'm so glad you two are together. Oh, Roxanne, you have been a joy in my world. And yes, you're experiencing some things yourself. Such a Venus to come through. But we'll leave that for some other conversations. Yes, if you were to live in Melissa's shoes, as I say, this channel, Melissa, she might be thinking she's crazy too, but she knows this is not craziness. And as you know, I'm glad to see the two of them have an open, raw conversation about all of this that's going on between you. But us as a collective, we watch this and we wait for you to embark and invite us to join, as there's so many of us that want to, encounter this with you. And just know, dear ones, we are here available for you. Just ask and we shall come in. We're waiting for that invite. As you know, with those divine rules, we may not encounter unless invited. But as you can see, these two humans, it didn't interfere too much. Well, kind of too much. Yeah, there's some divine intervention and some craziness always going on. But there are boundaries with that too that we will also respect. But just know, when you come and encounter this as a day-to-day and have invoked this in your divineness, it is miraculous in what you can accomplish. So I'm going to leave these two, because that wasn't the intent, is for Maitreya to take over, but to allow these two to continue their conversations. So in dear love, I leave you.
Thank you.
Yes. So yes, as you see, he is readily available, and there I have a few other collectives that are readily available. One we call Mr. T, and he's anxious to join us, but I've asked him to wait till another time. Anything else before we close?
Yes. One thing that's really been brought home to me recently is that this whole connection with your guides doesn't have to be serious.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be reverent. You don't have to meditate for 2 hours before it comes in. You don't have to be pious in order for your guides to come in. I watch Maitreya and Melissa laugh all the time,
Yeah.
and it not only does it make me laugh, but it makes me much more comfortable and easygoing about connecting with my own guides, and not expecting it to be so reverent. Just let it be happy.
Such a good point. And you're experiencing that firsthand.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that's, the beauty of it, that I've asked Roxanne to start joining me in these videos, is because of the fact that there's much to learn. The only reason that, I've agreed is because it is important for us to understand and own our powers. We don't have to be schooled in this. This is a natural state of being. And so we're going to let you experience this through the rawness of us. I'm to a point not so worried about the critics. Not sure you're quite ready for all that, but I've asked her to join me because I think it's important for you to see the rawness in the everyday world that this could transpire in. The key is your divine guides are ready to play. It does not have to be if you've done a particular school or class or said so many meditations or in this particular environment. That is not for them, as they say. It's irrelevant to them. We chose to live on this earth plane. They are an energy signature and will engage at any point in time. And the more that you're laughing and having joy, that puts you into a higher vibrational state. So that's something to keep in mind, is that it's more important about being in a high vibrational state. So enjoy. Anything else?
Not today. I'm sure by tomorrow there will be.
Or tonight, or in 5 minutes. You just never know, especially with the two of us together. All right, we leave you in peace. Have a grand day.
Bye.